The US President has given his first speech to the United Nations General Assembly. Donald Trump called for changes to the UN structure, something he has long favoured.
In recent years, the United Nations has not reached its full potential because of bureaucracy and mismanagement. While the United Nations on a regular budget has increased by 140% and its staff has more than doubled since 2000, we are not seeing the results in line with this investment.
President Trump's first speech to the UN was dedicated to UN reform, which he's been calling for a long time now. UN Ambassador Nikki Haley also spoke right after President Trump, stating her support for the idea of spending cuts. In fact, she was the driving force behind a $600 million cut to the UN peacekeeping budget this year.
Donald Trump has a businessman's eye for seeing potential, and he sees great potential, not just in this reform movement, but in the United Nations itself.
Trump's remarks seem to contradict his earlier statements regarding the UN, considering he's never actually been happy with the body.
The United Nations is not a friend of democracy. It's not a friend to freedom. It's not a friend even to the United States of America. The United States, just one of 193 countries in the UN, pays for 22% of the budget. We need the member states to come together to eliminate inefficiency and bloat and to ensure that no one nation shoulders a disproportionate share of the burden, militarily or financially. The United Nations is an underperformer, but has tremendous potential. The UN has such tremendous potential, not living up to its potential. When do you see the United Nations solving problems? They don't. They cause problems. It's a waste of time and money.
Even though Trump criticized UN spending and bureaucracy, he also stated that the UN is changing under Secretary General Antonio Guterres. This is interesting because in June, this particular Secretary General seemed to oppose any budget cuts, saying that it would create an unsolvable problem to the UN. Now, it's clear that the UN is set to change, but the question is, will it work out with less funding?
International law professor Dawood Harala told us that President Trump failed to address some of the key problems facing the United Nations.
The real problem is not where Mr. Trump is mentioning and complaining about either the justice in distributing the economic burden or inflation with respect to bureaucracy and other things. The real problem is a structural defect in the Constitution, that is the Charter of the United Nations, allocating powers with countries where there is an inadequate representation. The UN, the way it is and the way it has been functioning, it has become a vehicle for some powerful countries to achieve whatever they want politically.